Hello, another episode of John the Electro Man. Check out this awesome find. $35, bought both of them. And so far the only issue I know that's wrong with them is the caps are dried out, the electrolytics. But they both work, and I've had them both wired together, and they communicate. General Electric remote control. And I know, the first thing I thought about this thing was squelch, volume, transmit. I did not see the intercom part. The first thing I thought it was either a CB radio or a ham radio. Got to looking at it, turns out it's an intercom. Check it out. 1 amp. I mean really, 1 amp. This thing weighs about 40 pounds. Both of them together, you guessed it, 80. Anybody should know that. And they're made by General Electric, but the mic itself, I'm not sure how to, I'll just go ahead and say what I think it is. Shure. S-H-U-R-E. Shure. But it's pretty heavy duty, and I was told it was from a school. It might have been from our local school, Vonore Elementary. I went to middle last year, or the year before. I was doing homeschooling last year. But I've already had these things pulled apart. I gotta say, well built. I can sit on top of this thing without it bending. And I weigh about 200 pounds almost. I guess I can go ahead and plug it up. It wouldn't hurt to. They both work just fine. But I figured they'd work good for something. I assume they're around 1960s. This is when you go to transmit. And what I assume how you use this is, like, you key the button up, and say you're wanting to use the intercom half, flip it up to intercom, and key the button up. And then if you're wanting to transmit to the slightly different, but pretty much identical receiver, transceiver really, you just key the button up, and press it down to transmit. Either way, just doing that alone would use the intercom and transmit to the opposite receiver, which is pretty much identical except for the insides. I think it's this one has like a heat up or a preheating relay or something that boosts the voltage up on the tubes and powers them up really quickly, and then brings the voltage back down. It's something like an instant, almost like an instant type deal. Like you can use transistor radios and intercoms, turn the switch on, you're ready to go. I think that's what the relay was for, to boost the voltage up quite a bit and get everything preheated, and then after so much time, turns off and goes back to normal voltage. But it only has a 1 amp fuse in it, so I assume it don't use much. And I mean, I've never seen this before. Squelch on an intercom. I'm sure it has something to do with like RF interference. Like it helps tone it out. And see, look. That says normal. Normal. But you turn it right there to normal, and you can hardly hear the radio. Actually, you can't hear it all until you get right about down to here. Then you can actually start hearing. So I think the electrolytics might be bad in it. And, oops. I figured I'd make a YouTube video on it. What I assume is late, or maybe mid-60s to late 60s, maybe early 70s, because it still has tubes in it. It has a big rectifier tube, I think, on this side. And then over here, there's an audio transformer, a small tube, a big relay, and then another tube. Actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and show you. Okay, I'm back with this intercom. I thought it was pretty cool because in a way, it resembled a ham or CB radio. That's what I originally thought about it. It was one of the two, but not much to see up here, really. Check that out. That is one giant relay. As you can see, when I key up the microphone, it turns relay on. Or when I come over here to this button, well, toggle switch, it does the same thing. Yeah, this is radio number 1. Anyway, I figured I'd show that. And somebody's added in some sort of wire for this. This is wire that comes directly off the speaker inside the unit itself. I thought it was kind of like one of them field radios that had to be hardwired. And that's what I thought was cool about it. And then there's the big gigantic rectifier I was talking about that comes straight out of the transformer. This is the power transformer. I know I've heard people say you shouldn't ever stick your hands near this because it can shock you, make big arcs. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I wouldn't want to test my limits on that. That I know ain't too much. Normally, I think if you get over like 400 volts or so, well, no, not necessarily. Here's mom. Anyway, here's the tubes I was talking about on this unit. Here's your big relay. Here's a capacitor. I'm not sure if that's... Yeah, I think that's for audio output. But this is what I assume is an audio transformer. Because I don't see why it would have a need for 2 power transformers. So I assume this is an audio transformer, since this is an audio unit, an intercom. And you have to have a lot of power for all the speakers that are going to be attached to it. Here's the rails. And these last two here. This is how you would hook this receiver right here, or transceiver, to this transceiver. And it uses 2 wires like. I suppose how it works is when you're not transmitting on this end, like it's sitting there completely untouched, it's in receive mode. And when you key this unit up over here, say, I don't have the power hooked up right now, but you key that button up, it would send a signal right into here, into these 2 lugs, which would then go into here, I assume through the audio transformer. It'd be amplified, and then it would be put out for the speakers. So it's pretty much like a karaoke machine in a way. Here's this whole unit is like the karaoke machine playing the music, and then you have the microphone built into it, and the microphone goes back to this. But of course, through the microphone, it's amplified through the audio transformer and powered by the power transformer. And when you key it up, it goes into transmit, which it creates its own signal and pushes it out through these 2 lugs that are also used for receiving, and goes into this opposite unit here. And there again, there's the squelch on this one, or squelch, either way you want to say it. But I thought it was a pretty cool find for $35. And there's a cap off the capacitors. Look at that. Tar. Yeah, that's not too pretty. But there's the mic gain. And another cool part about the chassis is right here where the tubes are. It tells you the number of the tube and type. Oh no, I'm gonna get shocked. I assume that's low voltage anyway. Look. Oh no, I'm gonna get shocked. And it's happened to me so far. Of course, I'm not gonna go over here touching these capacitors on the other side or on the power transformer, but that right there is low voltage. And I think it might be direct current or alternating. Right there, as you can see, the tubes are glowing. I'm gonna turn the lights off. Right there is one of the tubes. Here's another tube which don't want to show up very well. You can see a faint glow. And there's a big rectifier. Oh, there we go. Turn that light out, made it easier. Now the camera likes to focus better. But sure. But when you key it up, well, that's about it. I guess I'll give you a shot of the underside real quick before I end my video. Yeah, and I'm about to wake everybody up. This one ain't the one with the relay, but there's a selenium rectifier. I think it's a full wave AC to DC rectifier from General Electric. And then there's your tap, and there's the big, I think they're called bumblebees. I've been watching some of Shango 066 videos and Radio TV Phono Nut, and from what he said is these caps always tend to go bad. And there's about two of them in there. And when I first originally seen these things, at first I thought they were just big gigantic resistors, till I started watching Shango 066's videos. Then I learned they were caps. It was a form of capacitor. There's a potentiometer. There's another potentiometer underneath the transformer. And there's that big gigantic toggle switch. Boy, that thing's heating up now. I've always loved the smell of warm tubes.